makes no sense to be in the deal to begin with because let's just cut the shit.
But
It's a license for Iran to get a nuclear weapon, so let's cut the shit. And to have
okay,
Russia,
well, I can at least explain that. And that actually has nothing to do with current situations. It has to do with the piss poor negotiating job of the Obama administration,
God,
because they're not negotiating a new deal. They're trying to renegotiate the original deal. And that original deal, thanks to the Obama administration, put Russia in the driver's seat. So, first of all, we should not be renegotiating the original deal. The original deal was a bad deal. We have been sending envoys to the Middle East and to both Muslim countries and Israel, trying to calm them down because nobody in the Middle East wants to see this deal go through. Everybody knows it's a bad deal, except apparently the Biden
well, yeah,
administration.
well, absolutely. And they also say now there's daylight between the United States and Israel, which is not just about Israel. It's about when Trump was having his initiatives in the Middle East, it never looked better for peace. Okay, things that would never happen were happening. Now Biden, with his incompetency, and I'm sorry, I still stand with what I'm saying. No, there's no reason to go down a road just because you're walking off a bridge or
Right.
doesn't
You
mean you
don't keep
continue to go.
walking.
No, you say we're resetting this, and especially with current events. I mean, that's Biden. How he is though. He let's have another 5 trillion spending bill with high inflation. He's no ability to adjust on the fly. I think there's other things at work, at least with this Iran nuclear deal. I'm not so. I wouldn't even be surprised if these leftists that have taken over his administration want to see a nuclear Iran because in their twisted, distorted academic world, they would think that would be a good. It'd be a good to have a counterbalance to Israel. I mean, I
Actually,
did not put them. I did not put that beyond the realm of possibility.
I think it's even more basic than that. I honestly believe the only reason that the Biden administration is so desperate to get back into this deal is because Trump pulled us out. And we have to reverse everything Trump
Everything Trump,
did.
yes, I agree with that. Um, yes, okay, good. So other things in the news talking about Biden with us real quick is just in 2 days, Trump was leading Biden by by 4 points, and it just went up to six. That's a pretty big turnaround in 2 days. Although, personally speaking, I'm not a big fan of Trump running again. I think he's had his time. He's too polarizing. There's more fresh blood. I mean, he's in his mid 70s as well. You need to move on. Then even CNN talk about the media. I know you have a big point on the media, but CNN, they're even saying that the Hunter Biden investigation is starting to heat up. What do you think about that?
It is starting to heat up. And, the Hunter Biden laptop, which the mainstream media went, oh, there's no
Doesn't exist.
story there.
Oh, it's Russian
The la-
propaganda.
The contents of that laptop was entered into
Yes.
evidence this week against Hunter Biden. So yes, there is something there. The mainstream media covered it up, and this is why I keep saying that yes, the 2020 election was rigged. It was not literally rigged by changing vote counts. It was rigged by the media covering up the truth, by the Democrats manufacturing the impeachment hearings. This was a long-term process that they did. But yes, the result is that it was a rigged election, and we're starting to see people say, oh, yes, it was. Because if the media, there was a poll that's found 10% of Biden voters would not have voted for him if the information on the laptop had gotten out. So now you're seeing, oh, so by covering up the laptop, you installed Joe Biden as president.
Of
He would
course.
have lost had the media done their job.
No question about it. I think that's a very good point, Dr. Lopkin. It's not about the election being rigged from a technical standpoint.
Right.
Okay, although I'm sure there were some inconsistencies. I think Trump did lose, as far as I know, but it was rigged. You had the day he got in office, Maxine Waters, others, let's impeach him. A fake Russian everything was trumped up bullshit, and the media is really culpable, and there is no media. It's entertainment or it's the an arm of the Democratic Party. They should be ashamed of themselves. They have no integrity, and it's not laughable. It's scary.
It is scary, but the question becomes, are they starting to turn around? We've mentioned on this podcast previously how the new owners of CNN said point blank they had no journalists at CNN, and we've seen people starting to get fired over there. But now we're starting to see more of a turnaround because traditionally when a president leaves office, members of their cabinet, members of their staff, they all get media consulting jobs. They all become paid contributors to different networks. Well, when Trump left office, with the exception of a few people that were hired by Fox News, none of the Trump people got these contributor jobs until yesterday. CBS News hired Mick Mulvaney, who ran the Office of Management and Budget and was Trump's chief of staff, and H.R. McMaster, who was Trump's national security advisor, are both now contributing to CBS News. The left is up in arms. How dare they get hired? But folks behind the scenes at CBS News spoke with the Hollywood Reporter, and they said point blank, there's not too much controversy among these hires within the network. So the left may be throwing a fit about it, but the network is fine with it. They're happy they hired them.
Well, I think it's a interesting point. I think some of the kicking and screaming is understandable, but I don't want to belabor a point that we talk about a fair amount of time. I think the bloodbath at CNN will be monumental, not just because of an ideological bent, because of dollars and cents. That network is
Well,
absolutely unwatchable.
that's what's pushing all of this. I'm not going to claim that CBS News is doing this for any
No, they're
ideological
hurting for
reason.
ratings.
See, all of the station, every network has been dropping in the ratings except for Fox News. And in fact, in the latest ratings, three shows on Fox News, um, the Faulkner Focus, America's Newsroom, and Gutfield, all just reported record high audience numbers. So, yeah, these other networks are going, all right, you know what? We actually have to be fair and balanced if we want to get our ratings back.
Hopefully, that's a trend that will accelerate. Two last uh, information bits, discussion points. The San Francisco Fed came out and cited basically the rampant increase in inflation on Biden's spending. That's not good. And also, Senator Collins will back Jackson. Your thoughts on those?
Well, it's no surprise that Jackson's being backed. She's been up for lower court positions and she's gotten Republican support before. So, that's
And I
was
actually think it's a good
expected.
thing
Yeah.
because you're trading one liberal for another. Do you really want to, expend your gunpowder on this? You're going to come out looking
Right.
like shit. So what's the point? Just let it go. I would
Yeah.
say
No. So,
I think that's
yeah.
actually a good thing. If I was a Republican strategist, I would say just put her through.
Yeah.
And
Because
it
it
also sheds
shows.
light on how crazy the Democrats are. Just let her pass. Yeah, I mean, she might not be the most qualified. Yes, she could be a little radical. You let her go. It's a great country. Bada bing, and say, gee, it's a lot different than when the roles were reversed, wasn't it?
Exactly. And that's the big point. The Republicans are showing that they can show the Democratic nominees some civility. Yes, they got hard questions asked of them, but nothing like the personal attacks that Comey and Kavanaugh faced. And as for the San Francisco Fed, yeah, they're just the latest in a growing number of economists who, starting with economists that told this to the Biden administration before the America Rescue Plan was passed, that this government spending will spur inflation. Everybody knows it. The administration keeps trying to blame Putin and blame price
Trump,
gouging,
who knows?
but the people know it's government spending and Biden's failed policies that are behind the inflation.
100%. Even some ex financial advisors for Obama have cited that. So, a lot in the news, very interesting. I actually think one little comment from you that I like, or one little insight. I think some of the huge uptick in Fox ratings and other conservative media is that you got disappointed, you got disenchanted. Biden won, Trump was at the end a buffoon, and now I can't. Sometimes I love. I know it's detrimental to the country, but I can't wait to see when they do the news clip of Biden giving an impromptu press conference or commenting about it. I mean, it's the theater of the bizarre. It's free entertainment, better than any situation comedy.
Yeah, well, that's a scary comment. But you know what? It reminds me years ago, and I don't remember the comedian that said it, but he was saying he has a problem when he goes into the voting booth because he has a choice of two people, and one is good for the country and one is good for his job. And
There you
right
go.
now we've got Biden is good for the comedian's job.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Dr. Lopkin. And another edition of Carnivore Bites. We'll be back next week. And I like the
Oh,
feature
and
that. Go ahead.
one last thing for our audience. This is actually a big time of year for Exvadio Podcast Network. Our sister podcast, Success Showcase, has just hit 200 episodes. Lighting the Candle, another one of our sister shows, has hit 100 episodes. And Carnivore Radio is only a few months away from hitting its 200th. So to celebrate, we are giving away a collection of books written by our podcast hosts and guests. You can go to xvadio.com/contest and enter.
Great, Dr. Lopkin. And I also like the feature that our listeners can go to the Exvadio website and suggest topics.
Yeah, if you've got something you'd like us to look into or you want to comment on what you're listening to, go to xvadio.com/connect and let us know. And of course, you can hear every episode of Carnivore Radio at the Xvadio website at xvadio.com/podcasts, as well as the Carnivore Radio website, the Apple Podcast app, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Audible, Amazon Music, and wherever you find podcasts.
Thank you, Dr. Lopkin. Thank our listeners.
We'll see you next week.